Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 25 fall Dollar Tree DIYs. I have a little bit of everything in today's video, and I hope you enjoy. For this fall DIY, I got some of the pumpkin stacks. These are the ones that are $1.50 right now at Dollar Tree, and I got the ones that are 3 different colors. So white, like a golden color, and an orange for the bottom. I want to make mine look like a scarecrow. So I start here at the bottom. I mix some navy blue acrylic paint with some white. And I want it to look like the scarecrow is wearing blue jeans. I'm not necessarily going to do overalls. I think just blue jeans will be fine. And so I want to combine a couple navy colors together. I really like using the little sponge stencil daubers like this to paint plastic items like this especially. I'm going to be using this indoors, so I'm not worried about the paint coming off of this. But on the large stackable pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, I have had issues with rain and the acrylic paint outside. So if you're going to put yours outside, you might want to seal it after you paint yours. I just went over all of it with that great navy color. It did a good job covering up that bright orange here with one coat of paint. And then I added another color. This one was called Too Blue. It's very similar to the one that I mixed, but a little bit different shade of blue. And I just kind of daubed that all over with a smaller little stencil dauber to give it like that mottled look that blue jeans have. And I really like the texture that gave to it. I'm not going to be doing like legs or anything like that. We're just going to have the bottom pumpkin represent blue jeans for the scarecrow. And I think that looks pretty good. I like the mottled appearance of it. For the middle part of the scarecrow, the middle pumpkin, we're going to have that be the shirt. Now, I decided to give mine arms. I've seen lots of people making scarecrows out of their stacking pumpkins, but nobody's giving them arms. So what I'm going to do is use my hot craft knife. This holds like razor blades. It's like the hot craft knife. I got this on Amazon, and I just removed the blades. It makes the perfect holes in plastic items from the Dollar Tree. So I just poked a hole in each side, and I'm just going to use a wood dowel from the Dollar Tree for the scarecrow arms. Now, I wanted my scarecrow to be wearing a plaid shirt, of course, for fall. So I just took one of these plaid napkins from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to decoupage the second pumpkin. And so I just went ahead and started tearing strips. I tore the end off, so I would have like the ragged edges that blend so much easier when you do decoupage. And I went ahead and shredded the entire napkin with these long pieces like this. And one napkin should be plenty to do the shirt here for this pumpkin. I'm just going to go over the pumpkin with a very thin coat of Mod Podge. And I can do a couple here at a time. I just start here at the lip. I don't want to interfere with that because I'm going to need that to be able to pop all the pumpkins together. And then just cut off the excess material here. I guess napkin material. And then I can use that same piece for a second row. I am going to slightly overlap it. And it is a thin napkin being from Dollar Tree, and it's only one layer now. So since the middle pumpkin was orange, it does make the shirt look like an orange plaid, but I kind of like that for fall. So I'm going to embrace it. And even though I've poked the holes here in the side, I just went ahead and decoupaged the napkin all the way around, covering the holes. I can always go and cut that excess material out of there once I get it covered. The top pumpkin is going to be the head of the scarecrow, and I added so many little fun details to this project. I really love how he turned out. Now, if you wanted to do this project with the large stackable pumpkins that are $7 at the Dollar Tree right now, I think it would be really cute too. You could get really creative. But this is a nice smaller DIY that I can actually sit like on a table or counter, and it's not going to take up too much space like the large stackable ones are actually pretty big. And I just keep working my way around. If I have any areas that need to be patched like that, I can do that because The plaid design is pretty forgiving, and I'm not trying to line anything up. I just want it to look like it is a plaid shirt when I am done with it. And as you can see, I'm also kind of putting the excess napkin material underneath that little ledge there at the top. So again, that it doesn't interfere with attaching the head of the scarecrow pumpkin to this DIY. So I have this completely covered, and I think I have done a good job of gluing it down. I'm going to seal that a little bit, and this is what it looks like when it is dry. I just went in with a little screwdriver, poked some holes here for the hole that I had put on each side. It's pretty easy to find to get rid of the excess material there, and then I can add the dowel for scarecrow arms. I'm just using the one piece to go all the way through it like that. I don't want my arms to slide around though, so since I can get on the inside of the pumpkin, I'm going to go ahead and secure the dowel there with some hot glue so it won't slide around. Now I have to do sleeves for the scarecrow arm, so I'm going to use that same napkin material to be able to do that. I don't want them to have scrawny arms though, like the wood dowel, so I'm going to have to actually find some material to make that a little bit more plush or stuffed too. So I just cut out some of that, and then I thought the automotive towel from the Dollar Tree might be really good for that. I wouldn't have the individual polyfill, so I'm going to try that. It's soft and fluffy like polyfill too, and I can cut it down to size. So I cut down a little piece of it and then measure how wide my arm is. And I'm going to cut a piece that I can wrap around it. And I do the same thing here for both sides, just cutting a piece. And I do want it to be soft and fluffy, so I do use the finish seam here on the inside, hot gluing that to the wooden dowel like that. And I do plan to make it look like the sleeves are stuffed with hay too for the scarecrow effect. I just wrapped this piece all the way around to give me a little bit more of a significant arm here for our scarecrow, so it's not quite so skinny. And then I will use the napkin material to cover that to make it look like a plaid shirt for fall. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, just hot gluing that to the dowel and wrapping that around, securing it with hot glue. And I liked that method. It worked really well for polyfill. Now, before I attach the sleeves, I'm going to go ahead and add the hay effect. I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree raffia, and I'm just going to cut down some individual pieces that can stick out of the side of the arm, and I'm just going to attach it to that same material, just kind of hot gluing one piece on at a time like that. But I can do quite a bit before the hot glue starts to set up. And I just went all the way around, just making that as full and kind of crazy looking as I can, so that will peek out at the sides of the scarecrow's shirt. I also kind of reinforced that a little bit with a little bit of twine, wrapping that around and tying that off. In case my hot glue doesn't hold up there, I don't want it to fall out. I cut another little bunch down here for the other side, and we're going to attach that as well. Now I was trying to decide how I could kind of decoupage that napkin material onto that fluffy fabric. I thought Mod Podge probably wouldn't be my best bet for that. So I actually end up using a little hot glue to get us started, but I do go back and seal it kind of from the top of it to attach it to that fluffy material, and it seemed to work pretty well. So we have the raffia on both sides, and I just need to cut the napkin down here to size to make a little sleeve. And I need a little bit of overlap, but not much. So just cutting that down to size. And I just hot glued this here to the bottom of the scarecrow arm. And I want that to overlap where I've tied that off and overlap any of the fabric where you can really only see the raffia there at the end. And I just wrapped that around, overlapping this and hot gluing this here. And then I just kind of cut off the excess material. And that seemed to work pretty well. But one thing to note though, since I am going over white now instead of orange like on the pumpkin, it does look a different color and it hasn't been sealed yet. So I am going to tint my Mod Podge to seal that to kind of make everything coordinate. I also tied off the end of the sleeve with some twine just to make sure that everything kind of stays in place there. And I'm going to do the same thing here on my other sleeve for the scarecrow. There was definitely a lot of steps on this DIY, but I absolutely love how he turned out. He's so sweet. So I did the same thing here, just hot gluing the napkin on. And now that I have both sleeves on, I went ahead and tied this one off too. The twine actually adds a little rustic touch to it too, but I also wanted to hide that white material inside. I didn't want you to be able to see any of that. I just want you to be able to see the raffia there on the side. So you can see the color difference there between the sleeves and the shirt. So I'm going to tint my Mod Podge to seal it. So I added some red pumpkin paint, it was the color, with some Mod Podge to tint it. And I'm going to go over and seal that material now. And then I just kind of used a baby wipe to blend that in so it's not too heavy, kind of thin it out a little bit. And I did the same thing here. Now it does make it look like an orange plaid now, but I'm also going to have to seal the pumpkin itself too to try to make my oranges kind of match a little bit better. I do want it to all look like one fall plaid shirt. And I'm glad I decided to use the plaid napkins. I think the decoupage of that would be easier than trying to attach plaid fabric from the Dollar Tree. But again, I went ahead and sealed the rest of the pumpkin too so that everything coordinates really well. And that is a nice color for a scarecrow shirt. And again, I just kind of blended it there with a baby wipe to spread that out. Now for the top pumpkin of our pumpkin stack, it's kind of small, so you don't have a lot of room to work with. I'm going to draw on a scarecrow face. I just did 2 teardrop eyes, all in black. I can always go back and add some white features to this. And then I'm going to do a little orange scarecrow nose, which is just like a rounded triangle. I do that with an orange paint pen. And then go back in and do a squiggly line smile here with some stitching for my scarecrow mouth. Very classic looking. And then I can add the details. Once I got it dried, I did a little eye shine there and like a little white of the eye for the eyes to give it a little character. And then I also kind of outlined the scarecrow nose, added some stitching to that as well, and some eyelashes here kind of going out to one side. Really simple, but I love how it turned out. I think it's really cute for a little scarecrow face. But our scarecrow is definitely going to need some hair as well. We're also going to be DIYing him a hat. So again, I take some raffia from the Dollar Tree and I cut here a little batch that can kind of go down on both sides like that, where I can kind of bundle it in the middle. So I take some twine and just kind of tie that off. So we have one piece here with like raffia hair kind of coming out both sides. I do want it to look a little all over the place, different lengths and stuff like that to make it look ragged like a scarecrow. I attached my first bundle there with hot glue, and I still have the twine on there so I can add more hair as well. So I cut out another little bunch of raffia here, and I'm going to tie that on with that same twine here to add a little bit more hair. We can start building out the scarecrow hair here in the back. I don't really need to remove the pumpkin stem or anything. I'm going to be putting a hat over that, but I do need some bangs. So I'm going to do this bundle kind of sideways like this, so it's a little shorter in the front to look like bangs so it doesn't cover up the entire face of the scarecrow. And then for the scarecrow hat, I thought burlap would be great for that. So this is some of the Dollar Tree burlap. I'm just going to cut out a little piece here that we can use for a hat. I'm going to do a really simple scarecrow hat, like a little pointy hat here. And that can also have like the raffia hair coming out from the sides. Now, it's not a very large head for this, so I definitely need a tiny little hat here. It's not going to be super big, but I just cut a little piece down and start wrapping that around how I'm going to want it to look. I fold up one piece there to be like the brim of the hat, and I start making it into like a cone shape. So I'm going to start hot gluing it down in place and kind of shaping it as I go. Just a really quick no-sew scarecrow hat, which is my favorite. But again, folding it there is pretty important there for the brim of the hat. And I just glued it there at the bottom. And I just kind of keep shaping it as I go. I do want it to be a cone shape. I did find that it was a little bit longer than I needed it to be. And so I'm going to trim off a little bit of the fabric here. You could make it like a straight across hat, or you can make it a pointy hat. Scarecrows have both. I thought a pointy hat would be cute, so I just made it have that cone shape and attached it with hot glue, trying to close it up a little bit, but leaving a little bit of room there on the top for some hair. The next thing I add is a little sunflower for the hat, one of the wired sunflowers from the Dollar Tree, and I just glued that right there on his little burlap hat, and I think he's looking really cute. I thought I could also use the burlap for some patches on the blue jeans and the shirt. So I think 3 patches would be really cute. So I just took a little strip of burlap here and I'm just going to cut out 3 little square pieces. That way I can add some little patches. You could also use the plaid napkin if you wanted. This is kind of a dark blue material though, so I thought the burlap patches might look a little bit better since that napkin was really thin. And I'm gonna glue like just a patch here on each side with a hot glue, 2 down on the blue jeans and 1 on this shirt. Super cute. I think the shirt needs buttons too though, like a little button down flannel. So I used some of my Dollar Tree buttons. I picked out 3 of the brown ones. I noticed most of those are black. And they're different sizes, but I kind of like that. I'm going to hot glue those down here, the front of the shirt, for another fun detail to our little scarecrow. It's so much fun. You can really add lots of materials to this and put it together how you would like. Now it's time to pop it together. I went ahead and popped the middle section on, and then we're going to do the top pumpkin as well. But I did think he needed maybe a little bit more hay details. So I took some of the raffia and I tied it around between the 2 bottom pumpkins like that. I'm just going to knot it, and that gives it a fun little straw look down here at the bottom as well. That looks really cute. And then I thought we could also add some of the raffia to make it look like straw coming from the scarecrow head here out of the neck. So what I did was I cut some of the raffia down into little tiny pieces, added some hot glue here around the neck, and I'm just gonna do it on the front, kind of around the sides here to make it look like straw is coming from his head. I did think about painting the top pumpkin instead of just leaving it white, but I didn't. I wanted it to be a little bit different color than the burlap hat for a little bit of contrast. So I think white is just fine for that. I'm also going to add some raffia coming out of the top of his hat, like his hat is completely filled with straw as well. And then his hair is a little patchy, so I decided to add some more raffia here and there, just hot gluing that there on the inside of the hat until his hair is a little bit fuller here on the back. Just lots of little details to this DIY, but in the end, they paid off because he is so adorable. I really love how he turned out. So this is what he looks like so far. He's really cute, but I had some more ideas. I thought maybe we could have like a little black crow like landing on his arm. So I wanted something very simple. I just used some black felt and a chalk marker and sketched out a simple bird. I do want it to have kind of a tail here like a crow though. So I think that shape would work. Just something very simple like the head, the beak, and a little bit of tail feathers there. I didn't really use a stencil at all. I just cut that down, and I think that's going to be fine. I am going to have to cut out a second one here because I do want to stuff it a little bit and make it a little bit more 3D since the scarecrow is as well. So I have 2 little pieces here like that. I can hide the chalky area here in the middle. I attached one end with hot glue like that, and I'm going to stuff it with some cotton balls, a great source for a tiny bit of polyfill, and you can get those from the Dollar Tree as well. I just stuff a little bit of the stuffing inside, and then I'm going to finish gluing our little black crow together, and that's going to be a fun detail that we could add there to the scarecrow arm. I'm thinking like on his left arm, about right here, and I almost did it at an angle a little bit. I just glued that on to his arm, and this is how he is looking. I think he's so cute. I did think that his sunflower was too small though for his hat. I wanted a little bit more of a punch, so I switched it out to a little bit larger sunflower, also the wired sunflowers from the Dollar Tree to finish it off, and I think he's perfect now. Let me give you a little preview. Here he is, our little pumpkin stack scarecrow. I love how he turned out. The little crow there on his arm, I think is perfect. He was really fun to make, and I think it's a great way to use the like smaller stackable pumpkins like this because you don't need quite as much room to store it. I love this little guy. For this DIY, I designed a great fall printable, and I'm going to make a really cool hanging sign with this.
I chose to use this frame for this DIY because the back was already kind of messed up, and we are not going to need that at all anyway. This is going to provide like the external frame for the hanging sign. So I remove the glass and I remove all the little pins. Just be sure to bend those kind of back in place before you pull them out. You don't want your plastic cracking. And then I think this is a 10-inch piece of craft wood from the Dollar Tree, which I'm going to use for the stand on the bottom. And it actually ended up not being quite big enough. I did have to end up using 2 of those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to give the same exact finish to this frame that I did on the other frame. Again, I want it to look like driftwood. And so I'm going in first with the cashew and distressing all over just like we did before. It turned out so pretty. I really like that technique. And another really great color to use for driftwood is if you mix ivory together with Antique Wax by Waverly, but the cashew is pretty close, so I had it, so I used it. And I went ahead and just distressed all over the stand as well. Now, this I included because I wanted to show you guys that we all have like our massive craft fails. Will you look at how much Antique Wax by Waverly I spilt all over my... So much, but you know your girl is not going to be wasting all that Antique Wax by Waverly, right? So I scooped it all up and put it back in the container, but that's going to be the explanation of why my container is going to look like a hot mess now. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I left it in. I didn't want to cut it out. I'm sure you guys have all been there. So I distress all over on my frame with the Antique Wax by Waverly. And it was a little bit difficult because I wanted to get the same exact finish on the plastic frame and the real piece of wood that I am using for the base. So it took a few steps, but I'll show you how I got there. I think I got them pretty close because I want them to kind of blend in together and kind of look like one piece. So, you know, I had painted the top and the 2 sides. I'm not going to paint the bottom. There's really no need. And then I went back and distressed with Antique Wax by Waverly, but I found that it kind of made it really dark when I kind of blended it together. So I did have to come back with that cashew color and then come back with the Antique Wax by Waverly because I was trying to get like all the different colors of wood on this one. And I guess it is different how I'm finishing this one from the first one because the first one, we added kind of more of that teddy bear color in there too. This one, we're just doing these 2 different colors. So I just kind of dry brushed and went back and forth until I thought it was going to look kind of similar enough to blend in for the base. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for the sign in between. The only thing I could find from the Dollar Tree that would fit in there was one of these little bamboo cutting boards from the kitchen section. So we are going to use this. It might be a little bit more heavy duty than you need. These signs are fantastic. But I'll show you how I make it work because it is kind of heavy. So I thought maybe you might be able to see the sides. So I just went over and distressed all of the sides with those same 2 colors, the cashew and the Antique Wax by Waverly, just now before I attached the image. And then I designed this image as well, and I gave my own crafty beach take on it. I made it a tiny bit larger than the cutting board, so if you're using the cutting board too, you'll just want to print this at 100%, and I'm sharing all of my files today. I made it a tiny bit larger so the pumpkin would kind of get cut off on the bottom. And this is how my design looks. I switched out the pumpkin for a blue pumpkin because it's going to go with my color scheme. I love a blue pumpkin. And then I use like the skinny font for friends and family, like the Ray Dunn font, just because I really like that one. And so I just cut it down to size, the same size as our little cutting board. And isn't it beautiful? I love this image. I did some like fall leaves behind it, kind of peeking out, kind of like they had on their original sign. So I'm just going to Mod Podge this image to it. And again, I used cardstock on this one just because I like to craft with it. I usually get like a whole ream of cardstock at Target. It's pretty inexpensive and it works great for crafting. So I did a nice coat of Mod Podge and then just laid that right on top and smoothed it out. Now, my camera did die here for a minute, so you are going to miss a couple of steps. I was drying it with my dryer, and my camera turned off, so I had no idea. I guess I really need to set a timer for 30 minutes because that's when my camera cuts off, and that's so frustrating because it doesn't make any noise or anything, right? I am Mod Podging it and sealing it. And the step that you are going to miss here is I went in with like an X-Acto blade and a ruler, and I cut like little segments to make it look like little separate boards on the sign, and it provided a little bit of texture. And then I did a very light dry brush all over with that ivory paint just to make it look a tiny bit distressed. So those are the two things that you miss seeing me do, but hopefully we're good from here. Now, I noticed that when I painted and distressed the sides, I got a little bit of paint on the back, and it's got this nice bamboo back. I don't really feel the need to paint that, so I'm just going to kind of sand off any of my excess paint there on the back. And then we need a way to hang it. I didn't really want to drill holes into this, so what I did is I just took some Dollar Tree twine, tied a knot, and stapled that to the back of my cutting board, and I'm going to do that on the other side as well. And so it hangs by string. So I think that will work. And now it's a matter of putting this all together. The first step I want to do is I want to tie the sign to hang down inside of the frame. So I just kind of went under the frame and I'm bringing it through, and I'm just going to tie a knot here. It's kind of tricky to do because laying flat like that, you really don't know how low it's going to hang. So before you get too far with this process, you might want to test that out a little bit. I noticed mine looked pretty good here, but then when I tried to like stand it up, it did hang a little low, but I'll also show you what I did to fix that. And I just double knot that to make sure that's secure and kind of leaving it loose on the frame there at first where it can kind of move around a little bit. This is when I tested it and I realized it was a little low. So to fix it, I'm just going to kind of bring the knots up a little bit more on the back and attach that to the back of our frame just to kind of keep that in place. And you can do this step with hot glue. I have my staple gun right here, so I'm just going to kind of staple into the plastic frame. I think that that's going to be pretty good. So that looks way better. And so now all I have to do is attach it to the base. Isn't it beautiful so far? I love that. Friends and family gather here. Now to attach it, I just do a bead of hot glue on my little craft wood piece from the Dollar Tree and sit the frame on there and hold it for a good while to let my hot glue dry. Now, I've done this before. I've done this on a recent DIY, and it had the glass in there and stuff like that, and this was very sturdy. But this time, I don't know if it was the weight of the cutting board. I found that whenever the sign would, kind of go back and forth a little bit like that, it kind of wanted to tip over backwards. And so I thought I probably need a larger base for this one. And so that's what I'm going to do. I did attach even more hot glue here in the back just to make sure that it stays in the right position. But then I'm going to go in with some more craft wood to expand my base to kind of fix that tippy problem. Trying to show you. It's just not quite right. So I didn't have that same size craft wood, but I did have one slightly larger. So you know what? We'll just cut this one down and we'll just make this a larger base. So keep that in mind if you're going to use a heavy sign inside yours like the cutting board. Now I just kind of have to distress it. First I wanted to test it to see if this would work. And it totally did. And it really doesn't take away from the design because it's kind of tucked away and hiding there in the back. So it's just a way to kind of make it blend in. I'm going to have to go in and distress this one exactly the same way. So again, I was just using cashew, and then I go back and forth, cashew and the Antique Wax by Waverly. Luckily, I spilt that all over like a kind of a cleanish surface where I was able to save all that antique wax by Waverly because, oh my goodness, I sure spilt a lot of it. Now, once I got it all distressed, I am just going to hot glue this base to the base we had before, just pinching them together. And that really did solve the problem of the tipping issue on this. And I really think I needed like just a larger base there in the back. So easy peasy, problem solved. And I think this was definitely my favorite DIY today. I think it just turned out gorgeous. I love like the slatted wood look by using the cutting blade to cut down through there. And I really like the image on there as well.
So here it is, our little hanging sign. Friends and family gather here. I will post a link to the printable in the description of today's video so that you can recreate. But I love how this turned out, and I think that that frame looks so good after a little bit of a makeover. And I really think this sign is perfect for fall. For this DIY, I'm going to make a lobster trap. Now, I'm going to use the little mini pallets from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use these bamboo sticks that I get on Amazon, but you could always use those popsicle sticks there from the Dollar Tree. They weren't long enough for what I wanted to make here for this lobster trap. I want to put two of these together. So I just hot glue the two pieces here. This is going to be the bottom of my lobster trap, and I'm going to use the little bamboo pieces for everything else. I bought a big package of these on Amazon a while ago, years ago actually, and I've been using them ever since. And I actually used the rest of them for this project, so I will have to replenish these. I'm going to first make the little doors here for the side of my lobster trap. So what I decided to do was to make each piece a little bit smaller so I could get maybe that arch shape that it should be for the side of a lobster trap. And then we're going to fill it up with pumpkins for fall. So I think that's a really fun idea. I started out here making each one just very slightly smaller than the next one. Then I realized I probably should make them a little bit more because it was taking a little too long to get to the very top here. So I started cutting them shorter, and I'll maybe remove some of those pieces if needed when I go to put this all together. I was just marking them with my pencil and using my miter scissors that I also got on Amazon to cut these down. They work really well. And I am just going to try to spread this out. I do want like that arch shape. I didn't really want to cut any like miter cuts on the wood. I wanted to try to keep this as easy as possible. So I just did them in different lengths. And then I'm going to need the piece to go from the top to the bottom to kind of attach everything together. So I just cut another one of these pieces down. And again, these are just bamboo. I think the link I used to order with these before is not available anymore, but I'm almost positive they have some available. I've seen them on Amazon a lot. Now what I'm gonna do is create a second one of these like side doors for the other side of our lobster trap. So just using the first one for reference to cut these down, I just kind of sketch them out with a pencil, how long they need to be, and then I can go in with that one piece and cut them all down to size, making sure to keep them in order because they definitely get smaller towards the top. And then I need another support piece the same size. So I'm just going to use the first one as reference, try to lay these out. It's not a perfect arch, but it's pretty close to it. I think it's going to work for this. And glued that on. Now I need to find a way to attach these to the side. I really want it to kind of sit on top. So I'm going to use another piece of bamboo just to make a little support piece to help glue that on. First, I'm just going to glue it to the top here on the edge. We're going to line up perfectly like that. Then I'm going to go in and glue that little brace piece on. It'll also be decorative, but it's really important to keep that on there to give that a little bit of stability. And I'm going to go on here the other side of our lobster trap and do the same thing. I have created a giant lobster trap on my channel before, which I made a lobster trap tier tray using some of the signs from the Dollar Tree that are arched and the Dollar Tree wood rulers. It turned out really fun. You'll have to check that out if you haven't seen that one. And then I'm going to cut the bamboo pieces down for the top. This is the part that the popsicle sticks were not long enough for, which is one reason why I wanted to use the bamboo, but I really like the look of it too. And I'm just gluing that on from end to end. So just cutting a few pieces out here for the top that are all going to be the same length. I'm going to have a little bit of gap in between the two pieces. And then the one here at the end, I kind of glue it on at an angle like that. I wanted that arched look as it went over the side. And so I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I'm trying to get that intricate arch angle here. And so I'm going to just glue these pieces on. So I did a total of 5, 3 flat, 2 kind of at an angle like that. And then I'm going to actually attach the rest with twine. I really wanted that arch shape, and I thought if I just glued them directly to the side doors like that, that it wasn't going to give me the shape I wanted. So I just hot glued a piece of twine here to the top. And then I'm going to cut the pieces out here for the front and have them hang by the twine. And I got the look I was looking for. So I need to go ahead and glue twine here to the other side as well. Just glued it right on top of those. And then I'm going to kind of suspend these on here. So I just put a little hot glue on each side, put that underneath the twine like that, and it's going to give me that arch shape I was looking for. I don't want to go all the way down here in the front because I want you to be able to see all of the pumpkins and fun fall decor I add in there. So I'm only going to cover part of it. I'm going to let you see inside the little lobster trap. So I think that that is far enough for that one. I'm going to cut out a few more pieces here for the bottom. I do want to have a little bit of that look down there as well. I just cut off the excess twine though, and I'm going to glue these pieces directly to the sides. This one I kind of glued to the bottom as well. And I think just a couple of rows down here will be enough. It's going to give me like some walls to be able to keep everything inside, but it's also going to give me a little bit of structure as well. And then I do want like a little cross piece to go here in the middle. So I'm going to cut another piece of the bamboo, and I'm going to kind of glue that on the inside of those two that I just attached, and also attach it to the bottom one here that I have that's kind of swinging at this point, and glue that like that. That way I have a little bit of opening. I can do some fun decorative stuff like with netting and stuff, at least on one side, because I still want you to be able to see in it. And then I'm going to go around here on the back and do the same thing. So I just cut the same support piece. I'm going to go ahead and add that now. And I glued that right across from the first one. And I felt like it needed a little bit more support. So I just cut another little piece here to brace that on the bottom. And now we can attach the pieces here. I went ahead and cut these down the same size as the other ones. And I still have that piece of twine. I'm going to glue them on just like I did on the other side, kind of suspending them like this so I can get that great arch feel that you see in a lobster trap. For vacation this summer, we went to Canada, but we also went to New England. So we got to see lots of lobster traps and enjoy some great seafood, especially in Bar Harbor. It was so beautiful up there. And I'm just going to continue that all the way down on this side because you don't need to be able to see in the back of the lobster trap, and I want it to look like a complete trap back here. So I just glued that all the way down here to the bottom, and we have got the shape of the lobster trap. I'm loving it so far. I did think I needed one more piece here at the bottom, and so I just glued that on to all of the braces we had there to finish that out. I didn't want a gap there in the back. And this is the shape of the lobster trap we have, with like the little doors and openings. Now, lobster traps a lot of times have netting on them. So I got some of this mini netting from Temu. You could really use like market bags, whatever you can find. I've even used like the rug liner from Dollar Tree, the soap holders from Dollar Tree. They have so many different things that you might be able to use for fishing net. You want something that's going to be a little bit more to the scale of your project if you're working like with a miniature item like this. And that netting that they sell at the Dollar Tree is way too big, usually for everything I try to craft. And so I just glued that on the inside there of our bamboo piece. And then I'm going to glue it here to the side of this door over here and glue the different pieces all on the inside, making it look like this area is covered with netting. I'm not going to do like the hole or anything on that for the trap. I just wanted a little bit of fish netting for that appearance. I think that's going to look really cute. And then I'm going to leave the other side open like that. So we have all the structure of this complete. I'm not going to stain it or anything. I'm just going to leave it that great bamboo color. I think that's going to be fine. It can look like a new lobster trap, I guess. I did find it did not want to hang real even since I used that netting and I pulled it pretty taut. So for the other side, I just continued the twine all the way down there to the bottom so that everything would hang level there on the front. But that is the structure of our lobster trap. I think it's so cute. I'm going to fill it up with a little bit of Spanish moss from Walmart here on the bottom. And I wanted to fill this up with pumpkins. Dollar General has a great pumpkin filler with these colors, the green, the ivory, the orange. I'm going to use more green and white, but I'm also going to use some of the orange as well. But I thought these would be really pretty for coastal colors. And I love the fact that they're loose like this, like a filler. You don't have to take anything off the bottom, like some of the Dollar Tree pumpkins. I had 1.5 packages. And again, I'm going to do more of the green and white, but definitely incorporating some of the orange in there as well, filling this up with pumpkins for fall. I think that looks really cute. The final touch is I want to add a lobster since it's a lobster trap, right? I went to the toy aisle at Dollar Tree and I found some sea creatures, and they had a little orange lobster in there, which is perfect because it goes with the fall theme. So I'm going to put that right there at the opening there near the pumpkins. And we have a little lobster trap fall display full of pumpkins. I love it when I can bring a little bit of coastal into a seasonal decor. If you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. It helps my videos do better here on YouTube, and I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed if you haven't. Only about half of you guys are subscribed. But here it is, our little lobster trap for fall. For this Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to use some of the rose gold Rust-Oleum spray paint and 2 of the wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. This isn't the really large one that they have. It is, I think these are the 15-inch ones. And I need 2 because I'm going to make a cage. And I wanted it to be a fun fall color instead of just black. So I spray painted mine with that rose gold metallic spray paint. I really have been enjoying that color for fall. I think it's really pretty. For this one, I really only need the front of it painted. So I just made sure that you couldn't see any of the black coming through. And then for the other one, it's going to be the bottom of my cage. So I put it in here at first, upside down, and spray the underside of it, that rose gold material. And then since it's going to be hanging on my front door, I thought you might be able to see like the sides of it like that. So I think I'm going to have to paint at least some of the back because I don't want it to look like it's two-tone. So I just flipped it over and at least did the outside edges there of the rose gold. And I think that looks pretty good. I got pretty good coverage on that. And I just set those aside and let those dry. Those look really pretty like that. Now for the background of my wreath, I'm going to use fall leaves. These are the leather fall leaves from the Dollar Tree. I have some of the oak leaves. I also have some of the maple leaves. And I'm just cutting the stem off of them just because I didn't really like the way the plastic stem looked on them. These are the maple leaves. These are definitely larger. I'm going to kind of set them at an angle. And I'm going to alternate between the two to fill this up to be a great backdrop. Now, if you don't have the leather leaves, you could always use like the faux leaves from the Dollar Tree. The burlap leaves, depending, like the oak leaves might work, but the maple leaves might be too big. Now for the pumpkins themselves, I found these little muted pumpkin clips from the Dollar Tree with the perfect colors that I wanted to do for this decor. The muted orange, the muted green, and the ivory. They do have the little clips on the bottom. I wish they didn't, but I don't really want them. So I just pull the clips off the bottom, and I'm going to repeat a pattern all the way around, going orange, white, green. And I was really pleased that I picked up exactly almost enough of these that I needed. And I definitely wanted to do like something similar to like the Easter egg wreath that I've done on my channel, but with pumpkins. So I thought this would work really well for a cage. And I am just going to repeat that pattern all the way around, and then I'm going to show you how I put the whole thing together. This was a really simple fall wreath. I know a lot of you guys say that you struggle with fall wreaths, and I try to do a lot of non-traditional wreaths like this because I really don't like the deco mesh wreaths and stuff like that. They are definitely challenging to make. Now, I noticed that I needed the pumpkin stem to kind of be in between the middle bars to make everything kind of sit properly. So I just kind of moved everything around, making sure all my pumpkin stems were where they needed to be. And that way the cage sat flat against it. But I want to clamp it all together like this so everything stays in place. and everything is evenly spaced like that. So I'm going to go in with the little tiny zip ties from the Dollar Tree, and I just lined up my crossbars over here on the side, and I'm going to simply zip tie that tight, and that just really clamps everything together inside the wreath. I'm going to do it here and here on the outside, and then up here at the top as well. The clear zip ties are really easy to blend in, and I also have a plan to kind of cover some of that stuff up as we add a little bit more decor to this. But I definitely want it to be tight, so I went around the outside, and then the same exact place that I went on the outside, then I also went on the inside and zip tied the inside of the wreath form together as well. And as you can see, this is turning out really cute. I love the colors for fall. Very colorful, but yet kind of muted, you know, with the brown leather leaves back there too, provides another fun color. And I like the variety of the leaves too. I think that really kind of adds to it. And this is the ribbon that I'm going to use. Isn't this so pretty? I found this at Dollar Tree. I don't know if I've ever seen this one before. It's like a burlap with like a very light muted orange pumpkin on it. And I'm going to cut 3 pieces down that are long enough to go around the wreath form. And everywhere where I zip tied, I am going to go around with the ribbon. This is going to help hold it together, and it's going to be decorative. So I just glued that to the back of the wreath form, and then glued it to itself like that. Kind of similar to like if you're making like a life buoy or something like that, you would do it. This is going to be the very top piece. So I went ahead and did the pumpkins upright. And then I'm going to have another one here. This is also going to kind of be the top. And I wanted to leave the very top of it open so I could hang something in between. And I could also do a hanger without these things getting in the way. And this is going to be the third one down here. So again, I just glue it all down, and it's for directionality. I just kind of kept all of the pumpkins as upright as I could keep them with this plan. And I don't really need the pumpkins underneath the ribbon. They can slightly go underneath there, but I definitely want you to be able to see most of them. So I just kind of spaced them out a little bit and added the remaining ribbon to our wreath form. This is what I want to hang down in the middle. This great wall decor from Dollar Tree. The color is perfect. It is this mint green, like fall leaf color. So pretty. I just cut the tassel off the end. I'm going to leave the hanger on it and use that twine to hang it. I like the little wood beads that are on there. They're perfect for our color scheme. And I won't have to add a hanger to this. I can just use this. It is looped. I will show you how I went about adding it to it. I didn't really tie it. I did add a staple there at the top just to make sure that it hung straight. And I'm going to tie it right there at the very center of the top. Well, actually, I'm going to glue it on, I guess. I just trying to see exactly where I need it to be because I want it to hang down like right in the center. And I think I've got this spacing. So what I did is I just went into the wire wreath form like this. I'm going to wrap this around here where I have a crossbar so it won't go anywhere. And then instead of tying it, I just pulled the loop down and hot glued the twine to itself here on the back and have it hang down just like that. They also have little pumpkins like that, would be really cute. I went back and forth which one I wanted to use, but I really liked that green leaf, so I decided to go with that. Then I'm also going to need a hanger for the top of my wreath, so I just put some twine here in on the top. And then I am going to loop that through and tie that just into a knot to make a very simple little wreath hanger up here. Nothing that's really going to take away from it, only going to add to it. And isn't this so cute? I thought this was such a fun fall wreath. Let me give you a closer view of how it turned out. I think using any kind of leaves behind the pumpkins fills it out a little bit more, so it's not just pumpkins, you know, with spaces in between. But I really love the more neutral colors of these pumpkins, and the little fall leaf sign right there in the middle is the perfect shade of green. For this DIY, we're going to take a party bowl from the Dollar Tree and one of their large glass jars from the kitchen section, and we're going to make a mushroom lamp with this. I'm going to light it up with one of these battery operated lamps from the Dollar Tree. I love those things. So let's start making a mushroom. We're going to start with the party bowl first. I was really surprised to see that that red dot on these mean that these are now $2. I didn't expect these to go up quite that much at Dollar Tree, you know, because they're not that thick of a plastic, but okay. And then I'm going to use some brown spray paint that I picked up at Dollar General. I am going to paint the outside of it brown color. I'm not going to have the top of the mushroom light up at all. Sometimes I have when I've done like mushroom DIYs with solar lights and stuff like that. But for this one, I want it to be a dark brown color for fall, and I don't really want it to have anything light up. If you did, you could like maybe put down some circle vinyl first to let like at least the spots glow, but I wanted mine to be a brown mushroom with white spots, and I'm gonna light up the stem of the mushroom, and that's why I chose such a large jar for that, so I'd have something I could light up. This is the jar we're gonna use from the Dollar Tree. I'm not gonna need the lid, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to frost this. That way you can't really see inside it, and it's gonna make it have a really fun, warm glow, I think, for fall. Now you could do this two ways. You could frost the outside of the jar or you could frost the inside. I kind of like frosting the inside of these when I can. So I'm going to use some of this Rust-Oleum frosted glass, and I'm just going to simply spray this on the inside. I just kind of put it up on a couple caps here and spray a good coat on the inside. Just one coat I think is going to be enough for this one. It goes on kind of clear and you don't really think it's frosted, but once you start drying it, it just turns this beautiful frosted color, and I think this is going to be perfect for our mushroom lamp. I have that LED light that's going to shine down inside this and light this part up, and I always love a DIY that can light up. Now, for the spots on this one, I'm just going to paint them on with one of the stencil daubers from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the large one. It's going to give me a perfect circle. I had originally cut down some white vinyl for this to make spots, but I didn't realize the inside and the outside of this bowl both have that bevel edge on there. And so I thought it would be hard to get the vinyl to stick. So we're just going to paint it. And I'm going to try to do it all like in one go. I want some of the spots to be up high, some of the spots to be down low. And I just add as many coats as it takes to kind of cover that brown up in one go like that. And make sure I get the perfect circle. I just kind of daub it on there over and over until I get my perfect polka dot on there. I'm not going to do any spots on the very top. I'm just going to do it around the edges. And so I do one up high, one down low, and I repeat that. And then I can kind of use the other side as a guide where to put my spots because I don't want them to be uneven when I get here all the way around with the white paint. So I just kind of line them up. Just go down, up on my polka dots. And I'm glad that I decided to paint them. I just think the vinyl, it would be very hard to get it to stick on the surface. So we have all of our polka dots here on the mushroom cap here for our lantern. Now we can attach the light. I'm going to use this little light up base. I don't really need the plastic cup there. I just need this part. These take 3 AA batteries. I love using these in DIYs. If you were going to make yours into a solar light, you could attach a solar light to the very top. Just don't paint that section. You could leave it clear, and that would work as well. And then I'm going to use a really strong glue since this is going to be kind of defying gravity. I'm going to use a Gorilla Glue here and glue that on the battery cap, a little hot glue to get me started here in the middle, and glue that right in the middle, and I should still be able to change the batteries. It's going to be easy enough to turn on and off. All I'm going to have to do is take the cap off the mushroom lamp to turn it on and off. Like that, it's got a little switch on the side, and I'm going to simply sit it on top of the jar like that, and it's going to light up the jar below it for the pumpkin stem. Now for the base, I actually found this wood slice at Goodwill. But I wanted some kind of wood slice. If you could find a wood slice sign from the Dollar Tree, that could work as well. I just wanted something kind of rustic, and this is a perfect size. And it's kind of thick too. It's not super attractive the way that it had been stained, but I love the fact that it's a wood slice. You're really not going to be able to see the top of it. So I'm going to add the lamp to it like that. So I just really need moss along the edges of it. So I'm going to go in with some reindeer moss here around our little lamp. And I'm just going to glue like a row of reindeer moss all the way around the edges. That way you can still kind of see that it's a wood slice. You can see the bark on the side of the wood slice. And it's not really going to get in the way of me attaching the lamp to this. And I thought the mushroom itself was just a little bit plain. So I think adding the base really took it up a notch and made it special. I'm going to hot glue mine down so it stays in place. And it's like all one part. I'm not going to put anything inside the jar. Since it's frosted, I just want that part to be lit up. And I glue that to the tray like that. And then I can sit my mushroom cap back on it that has the light on it. And this is how it turned out, our mushroom lamp. I think it's really fun for a fall woodland theme. And I love the fact that I'm able to turn it on and off. I can use it indoors as a lamp as opposed to doing wood with like a solar light in the top of it. But I guess you could always do that as well too if you wanted to make outdoor decor. I love it. All the fun details, the little wood slice there on the bottom, combined, I think, with the moss makes it look really cool and rustic together. And as you can see, when it's lit up at night, it's actually pretty bright. So here it is, our little fall mushroom lamp. I really love how this turned out. Anytime I can make my own, indoor lamp or solar lamp, I really enjoy them. Anytime I can light something up, I think it's just really fun. For this DIY, I'm using a wood leaf sign from the Dollar Tree and one of their wood rounds. Some of the Dollar Tree wood rounds like this are thicker now, and I really love that because look, no bowing or anything like that. I'm going to add that to one of the little leaf stickers, and I'm actually going to be taking that apart. I want like lots of coastal colors on this, but lots of different textures, as many as I can work together here with a coastal theme. And so I just removed the hanger from both of my signs, and we can start make these different colors. I am going to be adding like a texture material to the wood round sign in the back, but you're going to be able to see through it. So behind it, I'm doing a coat of Cloudless by Apple Barrel all over, just a very thin coat of blue paint to stain the wood round. Very easy. Now, when you go to get one of these wood leaf signs, make sure you get one that's a little bit not glued great, because the first one I started there, I actually cut myself, and now I'm going to have a crafting injury for this video. But it was really glued on there really tightly, but luckily I had a second sign here, and I was able to get this one off. This one wasn't glued near as tight, but again, I'm trying to be really careful because I don't want to damage this leaf, but I do want them to be separated because I want to use burlap for the back of the leaf. And there's really no good way to get that on there unless I have the pieces separated. So look for one that's not glued great like this one and use a little heat to separate. For this top leaf, I'm going to make that the same Cloudless by Apple Barrel color, very beachy and blue. And that's going to be really easy to do. Now, the other layers are going to be all different textures. So I'm going to use one of the faux burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. It is barely large enough to cover the wood leaf, but I think we can make it work. I love crafting with this. I use these all the time. And so I have like a partial bag here left over from another DIY. And I'm just going to simply sit this leaf here on the back of that faux burlap and use an ink pen to draw out this intricate leaf design. And then I can cut out the burlap to add to the front really easily. I don't have to worry about any fraying or anything like that. If it were real burlap, and it is so easy to work with. Definitely one of my favorite crafting materials from the Dollar Tree. It does have like a lot of different shapes here on this leaf, so I just kind of take my time and cut this all down to size. And what I want to do is I want to have like a doily in this fall DIY as well. That's not very coastal, but I think it's going to be another fun texture and color to go with the sign. And I think it made it look really sweet. I know a lot of people do like doily pumpkins and stuff like that for fall, but I wanted to see if I could incorporate like a doily into like a fall leaf DIY. So that is what we're going to do. This is going to go on here. I'm going to flip it over so I can add it to like the non-damaged part of the sign. And I just attach that with a nice thick coat of Mod Podge on here because I'm going to be gluing that plastic backing from the faux burlap bag to that and just smoothing that out. Very easy to craft with, and I just kind of make sure there's no air bubbles inside. The blue leaf is going to go on top of it, and I just reattach that with hot glue right here, kind of going in the same exact direction. Very easy, and that looks so pretty. Now for the doily. This is a doily from the Dollar Tree. These come in a 2-pack. I noticed that they come in a different color. This is like almost an ivory. I have ivory ones. I have white ones. And they're pretty close in color, but I kind of prefer the ivory one if I can find it. And I just had to cut off the tag here, and it's almost perfect for the wood round size. There's a few pieces that kind of overlap, but I'm just going to trim them up in the end because I do want to frame out this sign as well. To attach the doily, I just went all over the wood round with a like medium coat of Mod Podge here, where I can lay that fabric down right on top and see how that blue shines through. So sweet. I really love that look. It's really sweet for fall. Once I got that on there, I just kind of blotted that with a paper towel to smooth that out, and then we'll add the leaf design on the front of it. But I didn't really like how some of the areas, overlapped here, and I do want to frame this out in the end, and so I just trim off any excess doily that might be hanging over the edge of the wood round. I'm also going to take this chance to add the hanger back on. I just feed the twine through the back, and while the doily is still kind of wet here with the glue, I can kind of cut it if I need to get the twine to go through, and I just knot that hanger here in the front. I usually always knot on the front of my Dollar Tree signs. I just find that the thinner signs hang better against the wall. They hang flatter if you do it that way. And then here is our beautiful burlap and blue leaf sign. I want it to be a little off to the side, and then I thought I could add just a seashell from my collection from the beach there to the front for a fun coastal touch. I just add hot glue all over the back of this leaf sign. And then I'm going to glue a seashell right here in the front. This is a glossy shell that I got in Sanibel. Really cute. I'm going to do it kind of upside down like this and just attach that with hot glue here. The final step is I wanted to frame it out, and I wanted to use a material that will look good with the burlap, so I'm using the brown rope from the Dollar Tree. This is the thicker of the 2 brown ropes they have at the Dollar Tree. This one was in pretty rough shape, so I did have to use my lighter and kind of burn off any fuzzies on this to clean this up a little bit because it was very stringy, and also trim up some of the big fibers as well before I border this out. I'm going to start right here at the bottom and just use hot glue to glue this all the way around. I love like a rope frame on a wood round sign like this from the Dollar Tree. It finishes the project, makes it look framed, but it also makes it look thicker and a little bit better. Now I'm working on a silicone mat so I can really add the hot glue to the sides and not worry about this sticking to the bottom. But I just wanted to glue this on all the way around. And starting and stopping this, the seam is pretty easy to do here with the rope. And I just have the seam be right there on the bottom. And then just pull this off the silicone mat. And we have a fun little coastal leaf sign. I think it is so pretty. It was really pretty easy to put together. You know, I love it when I can sneak a little bit of coastal into my fall decor. I love blue for fall too. It's kind of unexpected, but I think it looks really pretty together, and all of the fun textures on this with the lace doily combined with the burlap. You also have the rope. I love it, and it's finished off, of course, by a seashell. For this DIY, we're going to make a fox pumpkin. We're going to use some of this new fabric from the Dollar Tree. It's like yellowish and fuzzy, kind of a golden color. An automotive towel and some of the Dollar Tree faux leather in black and a wood stem for the pumpkin stem. Now, I wasn't sure if I can make the fox out of this color because it's a little bit golden, but I looked it up and there are golden foxes too. So I think it's going to work. And it actually really looks like a fox. So I just popped the little styrofoam pumpkin stem off the pumpkin just to give me the pumpkin shape itself. As you can see, it's not quite wide enough to cover the pumpkin, but it is stretchy. So I think that's going to make it work. And you want to kind of stretch it anyway when you're covering that pumpkin to get that pumpkin shape. So I'm going to cut out like kind of a square of it here. That should be enough fabric to do the whole thing. Punch a hole right there in the center for some of the excess fabric and start attaching. So I start on my shorter side first. I used hot glue to just attach it to the top of the pumpkin. I know this won't be long enough to like tuck this inside the pumpkin. I just want it to kind of get as close together as I can, and gluing both sides. Then I go to the other side and do the same thing, basically just gluing it up next to where the stem should be. And it's kind of like a crab rangoon or something like that right now. It's got all these like weird corners on them. But this is where the excess fabric is going to come in. So I want to pull it taut, and then just using a pair of scissors, I can just go ahead and put the excess material down inside the foam pumpkin. I don't even have to glue this. And it's giving me like those little pumpkin sections too, as I do that with all 4 of my corners. And it was really easy to cover the foam pumpkin with this fabric. I got some of black of the fuzzy fabric too. I thought it'd be really fun for Halloween DIYs. So that looks pretty good. Now we can start making the fox on it. I thought for white fluff, the automotive towel from Dollar Tree would be perfect for that. So we've got like the fuzzy material for the fuzzy little fox, and this will be like the fluffy parts of his face. So I just start with the automotive towel. I cut kind of like a shape of like a rainbow, like an arch, with a flat side there at the end. That will be the bottom of it. It does shed a little bit when you cut it, but not too bad. And I noticed I wasn't super symmetrical, so if you fold it in half, you can get pretty good symmetry going there. Then I go ahead and fold it in half again. I'm going to cut an arch down to a point right here, kind of like the top half of a heart, if you will. That's going to be like the face of our cute little fox. And this does have a seam on it. I don't really need that, so I go ahead and cut that off as well. I try to take care of any of the excess shedding before I go ahead and attach it to our little fox pumpkin. I want it right about here where the bottom of it is kind of where the bottom of the pumpkin is. And then I'm going to attach it with hot glue. So I kind of do a section at a time, gluing that kind of all over. Make sure to protect your fingers. The little hot glue protectors that you see that I wear there from Dollar Tree actually work really good. And I am doing the same thing here for the other side. Now, usually foxes, I've done fox DIYs on my channel before. Their eyes are usually in like the orange or yellow golden part there. But it's a little bit easier to make their eyes on the white part. So that's what I'm going to do. Kind of stands out more too. And so we're going to make the nose and the eyes with that black faux leather. I thought that would be an interesting texture. If you don't have any of this, you could always get away with like black felt or something like that. I just go on the back of it with a Sharpie, and I just drew out a simple nose and 2 little eyes like it's asleep. That's like probably the easiest way to do an eye. You don't have to worry about trying to get like the eyeball or anything like that. You can have a cute little sleeping one, right? So I just go ahead and cut down the nose. This stuff is really easy to cut. When I cut the eyes, I do try to be careful. I want them to be thin, but I don't want them so thin that I cut like all the way through them. And I also want to make sure that like my arches and stuff look fine. You can kind of turn it like either way, up or down, depending on like what kind of expression you want your little fox to make. But I think that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and cut down the other eye as well. And I thought like the fuzzy texture of that golden fabric, the white fluffy automotive towel, and then the black leather, it's all going to provide lots of fun textures for this DIY. So a little bit of trimming there on my eyes. Make sure they're kind of even. And this is what I'm talking about, doing the eyes right at the very top and the nose right down here at the point. Gives you that cute little fox face. I'm just going to attach it with hot glue. And then the eyes as well, with just a little like U shape there of hot glue, trying not to get any hot glue on my leather. And I absolutely love foxes. Back when we lived in Missouri, we used to have foxes and baby foxes in our backyard, and I miss them. They're so cute for fall. Now for the pumpkin stem, I just have one of the wood stems from the Dollar Tree. I already have that hole in the top, so I can just kind of put that right in there. And I got one that has a little bit of character to it, kind of goes off to the side, looks like a pumpkin stem. And then all we need are some ears. We have to have some ears for a little fox, right? So I wanted some cardboard. I have the box from that faux leather, so I might as well use it. Just whatever you have. I have it folded, so I get 2 of them, and I just cut out like a simple ear shape and then cut that in half to give me 2 little ears. I want to cover those with that like golden fuzzy fabric, and we're also going to be using the white fluffy automotive towel as well. I just cut like a rectangle so it's big enough to cover both sides of the ear, so I want both sides to be fuzzy. And leaving a little bit of room there at the bottom, I am going to glue that to it like that, and then put some hot glue on the back of it, fold it like a little book, and basically cover all of it. We can always trim them down to size later. So I trim them, but again, I'm going to leave that like part on the bottom because I'm going to use that part to attach it to the pumpkin and kind of have it all blend in. So I want just like a little flap here like this, just to help me glue it on. And that's all going to blend in with the pumpkin anyway. So we're going to do the same thing here with our other ear. Cut that down to size, make sure that I have the flap there at the bottom and that it is accessible. Now the white fluff on the inside of the ears is going to make it look really cute too. So I just cut down another piece of that automotive towel. I'm going to fold it so that I cut them about the same, and I just cut out like a simple rectangular shape there for the white fluff. Try to get any shedding off of there and then sit it on there. Again, I don't want to go all the way to the bottom. I just want to go to like where that little flap is that we made. And I'm just going to simply attach this with hot glue as well. He's a really cute little golden fox. So now it's time to attach them. I do that by just adding hot glue to the flap, and then about halfway, like about right where the pumpkin stem is where I think the ears look good. And I glue that down, and as you can see, all that material from the flap just kind of blends into the rest of the pumpkin like that. I thought about making the white go further on the bottom for the chest of it, but I don't think you'd really be able to see it. So I think just going to the bottom of the pumpkin is fine for the face. I attached the second ear, and this is how he turned out. Our little golden fox. This was a really fun DIY to make. And I think he turned out so cute. I love to mix in like woodland critters with my fall decor. This is definitely one of my favorite pumpkin DIYs I've ever made. I think it looks just like a cute little golden fox.
I'm going to combine a couple leaf signs from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to thrift flip another sign. I got this great solid wood sign on sale for like $1.50 at Goodwill. You know, I used to shop at Goodwill a lot more because they would do these sales. Now they only do the sales if you pay for like the Goodwill like gold membership or whatever, I think. Maybe I should pay for it to see if it's worth it, but I haven't been shopping there very much since they quit doing their half price. Because I loved the half price on housewares. I could get great signs like this to thrift flip. And it does have words on it. I want a blank canvas. So again, I'm just going to go over the entire sign. And I'm just using some ivory acrylic paint, something cheap, just to give me a blank canvas. And I want to cover up all of the words on there. If you're thrifting something that's going to have words on it like that, especially like white with like dark letters on it like that, you can tell like one coat is really not going to cover it all the way. So it is going to require a couple coats at least on the words. Then for the fall Dollar Tree signs, I picked up a couple leaf signs. We're going to combine them together and make a really fun display. So this is the slatted leaf sign. This is one of my favorites for fall decor. Now, do your Dollar Tree still have all of their fall decor out? Most of mine do, but I went to one yesterday that has moved it all to the little square display that they have like right when you enter the store. So I don't know if that's all that they have left. It is a smaller store, so I know they need to make room for Christmas stuff, but I was like, hey, you have 2 aisles of things of Halloween stuff. Where's all the fall stuff? And then I am just going to stain the whole thing with Antique Wax by Waverly, including the boards there in the back, wiping off the excess with a paper towel. And I want to hang it like, you know, hanging down, upside down kind of. And I just put hot glue on both of the slats there on the back. And we're going to attach that directly to our thrifted sign. And that's going to kind of be a middle sign because I'm going to use a third sign here that's Dollar Tree metal sign that says fall is my favorite color. It's got that great light green plaid print that we've been using a lot today, so I thought this would be perfect. Just going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit, take off the little hanger and the raffia bow that was on there, just to kind of leave just the metal sign itself. And even though it's not shaped exactly the same as the leaf behind it, I think I can make it work well together. Now I do want to cover up the holes in the leaf sign, the slatted leaf sign, and I'm just going to do that with some thumbtacks again. I really couldn't get all the way through to the bottom sign there, so I actually just kind of hot glued mine in place. But it kind of gives you a decorative touch, and I always like to cover the holes in my projects. And I think that looks pretty cool. So now we can attach the little fall is my favorite color metal leaf here to the front of that. And I think that the layering of the fall leaf signs is really fun. I was trying to decide how I was going to attach it on here. And so I start with just some twine and I wrap that around the back leaf here, lining up this where I want it to be. I do use a little hot glue right down the center of the sign, but I want to kind of reinforce that to make that stronger by wrapping it with that twine. So then I just tie a knot tying the leaf sign on, but it's also going to be decor because I tie a little bow on the end of it. And then I can use that to cover up the hole here in the top of the metal sign. So it's functional and decorative. Just going to burn off any fuzzies on that real quick. And I think this sign is super sweet.
So sometimes when you find like a smaller sign like this from Dollar Tree, don't be afraid to combine it with some larger pieces, either from Dollar Tree or thrifted, to make a larger piece. I really love the saying on this one, fall is my favorite color, and a little bit of surprise with the color green in there, but I love that. I think it looks so pretty. It would be perfect all the way through Thanksgiving. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make a fun fall tray. I found this little tray piece from the Dollar Tree. I don't know why it doesn't have any feet though. It's really cute though, it's beaded. And I'm going to add some feet just using some of the round wood beads. They're similar in color. They're a little bit shinier and darker. I think 4 will be plenty. I'm just going to glue those onto the bottom of this beaded tray. But I thought this was a fun find. I found this like in the home decor section with like the framed artwork and stuff like that. And I just glued these all on with hot glue. I wanted to do a fun fall tray with like a mushroom theme. Now I don't like the brown all being the same color, so I decided to add a little distressing with mine. I used this Beachcomber's beige, I think this is called, just a tannish color, and I distressed all of the little wood half beads that are on there, and I also distressed the tray, and then I'm going to distress the little feet that we added to it. I'm really kind of surprised they didn't put feet on it because it looks just like a tray, but it really needs little feet, don't you think? So I just went ahead and distressed it. Distressing the glossy little wood beads here for the feet actually made them not so glossy anymore. Then I'm going to add one of these wood look pumpkins. They look like wood, but they're actually like a ceramic material. And some of the floral moss from the Dollar Tree for our tray. Check out the mushrooms this year from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute. This is kind of like a honey color velvet material on there. They had all different colors, and I love the changes to these this year. I think they look really cool. I love the stems. I want them to be all different heights, so I'm gonna glue one here just directly to my tray, and kind of lean it off to the side, like mushrooms don't always grow super straight. And then I'm going to kind of do like a little tiered effect using some of the wood slice ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to start here with my largest one and glue that to my tray. And I kind of want to stair step that up a little bit so I can have different heights to glue the mushrooms on to make the mushrooms look like different sizes. So they're not just straight across. So I glued a second one on, kind of tiering it like steps. And then I had a smaller one too. So I added that as well. And I'm going to glue one of the mushrooms way up here, kind of leaning that as well. And then I can glue this one on like the second shelf and kind of have that going out its own direction as well. And I love that look. It kind of gives you that like kind of a bracket fungi look as well with the mushrooms. And then I added some Spanish moss, just a little bit here and there for the tray. And then a few fall items like one of the little cotton pieces from the Dollar Tree. And I actually had an acorn that one of my sweet viewers sent me some acorns. And I am going to add that as well. I'm going to finish it off with a little bit more floral moss. I really think that adds to the feel of this. I didn't really have any fall animals that were quite small enough to hide in here, but if I did, I probably would have totally snuck one in. But I really love how this turned out. It's really cute and whimsical. It definitely goes with the fall forest vibes, and I love the color on the mushrooms. I think they're so pretty. Making a fall tray like this using that sign from the Dollar Tree, I think is a perfect way to use it. I love the combination of the mushrooms together with like the cotton, the acorn, and the little wood like pumpkin back there. And this is also like a great neutral fall decor if you don't want a lot of color in your fall DIYs. Now, up next, we're going to be decorating my coffee bar for fall. I'm going to start with this really cute little raccoon salad plate that I found from Dollar Tree. I'm going to also use one of those little plastic acrylic plate holders that I found on Amazon. I found them to be a little bit easier to work with than the ones from the Dollar Tree, but you could use the ones from the Dollar Tree too, or whatever kind of plate holders you have. You could even hang them on the wall with like a plate hanger. They're so cute. Look how cute he is with his little mask. He's like a little bandit. So I put him here on the bottom shelf to start this off. And I think he's really sweet. I'm going to put him over here on the left side of the shelf. And we can start decorating this shelf as well. For the next item for this shelf, I'm going to add a little squirrel that I got at the Dollar Tree. Look how cute he is. He's holding a little acorn, and I think he will look really cute here next to the raccoon on this shelf. I don't really have to do anything to him. He is perfect and ready to go. I love those little animals from the fall section at the Dollar Tree. The next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to make like a fall leaf display, like with a vase. So I have one of these little milk jugs from the Dollar Tree that I had previously DIY'd, I think for Valentine's Day. I just cut the ribbon off of it, and I'm going to leave it white and just add a window cling from the fall section at Dollar Tree. I have one of some little mushrooms left over, so I'm going to add that to the milk jug just to customize that with a thin coat of Mod Podge, and then I lay the window cling on top. So easy. I seal it with another coat of Mod Podge on top, and now I have a really cute little vase, and like the little milk jug theme kind of like goes with the coffee bar theme as well. And then I'm going to add this fall leaf floral that has like a little acorn on it that I got at the Dollar Tree. I think it's so cute. I decided it was too tall, and so I cut mine down into individual pieces. And for some reason, I can't find my wire cutter, but if you get the little pet nail clippers like that from the Dollar Tree, they work great for these wired things as well. But I ended up cutting it a little bit shorter than I thought. And so I'm going to fill this up with just some Dollar Tree sand. So I have something I can add these to, and I can kind of boost it up a little bit taller because I didn't mean to make it quite that short, but I love the colors of these, and I love that acorn in there. So cute. I think it needs to be a little bit higher, so I added some more sand, and that is one of the craft funnels from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. It works great when you need to add sand to a vase with like a skinnier like lid like that. And I'm just going to add all of the pieces in here, kind of arrange it till I'm happy with it. and so easy. It's got the little mushroom on the front. Very simple DIY for my coffee bar. And look how shiny that little acorn is. I think it's so cute. So I'm going to put this right here in the center of this tray. I kind of had a little area on my wall, my like removable wallpaper back there that had a little tear in it. So I definitely wanted to make sure they were tall enough to cover that. But this is how it turned out. I think the little mushrooms on there are such a fun touch. And this shelf is really coming along nicely. The next item I wanted to add was one of these little felted mushrooms I got at Dollar Tree. It has a light green color, so it's perfect. It was a fall section, so I'm assuming $1.50 now. And I did want to paint it to make it look like wood because I thought that looked really good on the one that I got from Dollar General. So I went over it first, the stem of the mushroom and the underside of it where it doesn't have the felt on there with this tan color, which is Beachcomber's Beige by Apple Barrel. And once I get it that color, it's very similar to the wood tone on the other mushroom. I'm going to distress it with some Antique Wax by Waverly. I'm using a little chippy brush that I got on Amazon. It went on a little thick at first, but I'm just going to use a baby wipe to kind of blend that, thin that out, and kind of spread that around. And I'm going to go over it and distress it until I'm happy with it. I have a little bit less on there now, and that seemed to work a little bit better. And then I kind of switched to a paper towel because I don't want to remove too much of it, but I want that great wood grain because it already had that great texture on there. But now that it's painted to look like wood, I think it's really special. The green felt on the top of the mushroom is really pretty. It goes really well with that green, those green plates with the fall animals. And I do have a third plate that I'm going to use on the tier tray up next. So this is how it turned out. One of the Dollar Tree little felted mushrooms. They have so many mushroom items at the Dollar Tree this fall. I love that theme for fall. It goes great with the woodland animals. This is the other placemat they have from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to customize one of their bamboo cutting boards with it. They have made these larger if you've bought these in the past. As you can see, it is a nice size now. This one says, "Life is better with friends." A lot of this is just that plain ivory. So I'm really going to concentrate on just the image. And I thought that would be fun to add that to the front of the cutting board since this is in my kitchen. So I just cut out the front of the placemat and I'm going to try to line this up a little bit here. It looks like I will have to cut off like maybe a couple tails to get this to work. And I just laid the cutting board on top of it and traced that out with a pencil so I could cut that down to size. And I just cut it out and kind of round the corners. I do want a little bit of the wood to show through, but I will just have to cut it down a little bit more once I add it to my cutting board. So it's also a little off centered with how I cut it. So that worked out well. I was able to even it out a little bit because the tails were not quite even. As you can see, the squirrel had a larger tail kind of going off to the left, but that's okay because I wanted some of the bamboo to show anyway. So I am just going to cut two edges of it a little bit shorter so I have a little border around it so you can still see that bamboo cutting board kind of peeking out from the back. And then I'm just going to use this as like a leaner sign, leaning against my wall. And whenever I can do like a kitchen item on a coffee bar, I love that. I think that looks really good. So I just kind of trimmed this up till I was happy with it. I want just that thin border. And again, this is not a cutting board that I'm going to use. It's just going to be for decor. I just added Mod Podge, and since I was doing fabric, I did a really thick coat, kind of saturated the entire fabric with this to make sure that this stays put, and laid the fabric on there and went over and just made sure that everything was down, kind of soaking the fabric with the Mod Podge and using a paper towel to make sure that it's flat, no air bubbles in there. And I think it turned out really cute. Life is better with friends, little fall woodland animals, a fun way to use that placemat from the Dollar Tree. And I just leaned it here on the wall next to like the fall leaves there in the vase. Lots of cute little animals on there, and I love the saying. A really quick, easy way to make a sign too for your kitchen or your coffee bar. So this is what it looks like so far. I do have room for one more thing, I think, and I picked up one of the orange pumpkin coffee mugs from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be perfect. I don't need this for my coffee cup bar because I found those great woodland animals. So I'm just going to use it for decor. I have found that the foam cones from the Dollar Tree work great if you want to fill up a coffee cup to use it for a decor project. So I just cut it in half and pop that in there. It fills up almost the entire cup. And then I'm just going to take some reindeer moss to cover up my foam. And I found some great greenery at the Dollar Tree that I thought looked kind of like scrubland. And I'm going to use that to make kind of a forest floor look here in the orange pumpkin mug. I found some great mushrooms at Dollar General, a little mushroom pick. And I thought that that would look really cute growing out of my little pumpkin mug as well. So I just cut these little individual pieces of greenery down, putting that in my phone. Look how cute these were from Dollar General. Only $1. I really love the fact that Dollar General still has items for $8. Sometimes they're not cheaper. I recently got a skull candy dish that was cheaper at Dollar Tree. So you do have to keep your eye on them, but on a lot of items, they are cheaper. And so I'm just going to add the mushrooms, and I'm going to add a little bit more greenery here. I want it to look really full with the greenery, but kind of have those red and white mushrooms be the star of the show. I don't want it to be too tall, so I do make some of the pieces maybe a little bit deeper down here into the foam so you can really see those mushrooms. And this DIY was so easy, and it gives me a fun little plant on my coffee bar as well. Let me show you how this turned out. Isn't that so cute with the little mushrooms in there? I displayed this here next to my cutting board DIY, and it really finished off the bottom shelf of my coffee bar. Isn't that mug adorable? I absolutely love it. I got it to actually drink with, but then I found the other mug, so I'm going to use that for decor. And this shelf is all filled in. I do want to do like a wood bead garland for this. And I found this great wood bead garland at Dollar Tree the other day. It has mushrooms on it. I didn't really like the design though, with the mushrooms being sideways like that. So I'm going to DIY my own. So I'm going to go ahead and use everything from it. I just cut it down to the proper length for my shelf. And I just went ahead and removed the excess twine, untied it, and I'm going to remove everything from this and do my own little wood bead garland using some of these wooden ornaments from the Dollar Tree. I picked up a 3-pack so I can do 3 different animals, and I'm just going to use window clings from the Dollar Tree to make some really cute little woodland fall animals that I can hang from the wood bead garland. Now, I don't have a lot of room on the wood slices, but I definitely have enough room for their heads. So that's all I'm going to attach. I just picked out this cute little fox here. He should be pretty easy to cut out just his head. Pretty easy shape. I just use my scissors to cut around him. And usually the window clings from the Dollar Tree have like a clear background. This one actually had a bright yellow for some reason. And so I do have to cut the yellow part off too, because that's not going to look very good. So I just went all the way around the little fox face and head here and cut all the excess material off. And then we can add it to a little wood slice there to make a really cute ornament for the wood bead garland. The next animal I'm going to do is this squirrel. They had a couple different squirrels on here. This one was a little bit less cartoon looking than the other one. Again, I'm just going to do its head. It had some like little furry ears, but I thought that would be too hard to cut out. So I'm just going to cut out like the pointy ears here because this one had that yellow background as well. So I had to cut around that. They have a couple different window clings from the Dollar Tree with the fall animals. So you can kind of experiment with this and use one that you like. I think that looks really cute. And for the third animal, let's do this cute little hedgehog over here. I will be able to put like some of his spines in here, so I kind of see what's going to fit, and then just kind of cut around that, again, cutting off all of the excess yellow material. If it were clear, I probably wouldn't have to cut these out as much, but it still might make it look better not to have that. I'm going to use Mod Podge to attach those to the wood slices, And I used that matte finish Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree. So it will really help take all the shininess away from this that the window clings have, because I don't want them to be super shiny. So I just went over the wood slice with some Mod Podge. I did find that the wood slice really kind of soaked that up. So I had to use a little bit more of the Mod Podge than I thought I would. So I put another coat on there, thicker this time, and started adding my little fall critters here, the squirrel, the fox, and the hedgehog on these. Just making sure they have holes drilled in them. So just making sure that was up. And I just went ahead and Mod Podge these all on here. I'm also going to Mod Podge over the top of them, again, to take away that glossy sheen. And a couple coats of the matte finish Mod Podge really helps. If you do it like I was doing, they kind of slide around a little bit because I didn't really wait for it to dry too much. But I'm just going to go ahead and get these going so that we can string our wood bead garland and design this the way that I want it. I'm going to remove all of the wood beads from that garland and reuse them because I also want to use those mushrooms too. I think those are really cute. And I think we'll be able to use those as ornaments on this wood bead garland as well. So a couple of coats, as you can see, the shininess definitely goes away with that matte finish Mod Podge, and these will be ready to add to the wood bead garland. Mine were a little bit furry, so I did sand them down a little bit to clean them up. And then I just removed all of the wood beads from the garland so I can kind of do my own thing. If you put a little hot glue on the end of your twine, it's going to make your life so much easier to string those wood beads. And then the little wood slices actually come with twine that work perfectly. It's nice and thin. It's a little bit thinner than the one that I normally use from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to go ahead and string these all on so I can tie these on as I go. This twine is the right size for my shelf. And I just tied a couple knots here on the end just so my wood beads would not fall off. And I am going to start stringing this. I thought we could do like 5 of the natural wood, and then we could do like 1 of the orange and kind of repeat that pattern. So I'm going to do another 5 of the natural, but this time instead of the orange bead, I'm going to do 1 of these wood slice ornaments. I just tied it 2 times here, and then I'm going to tie that actually here in between the wood beads by just knotting that here on there and cutting off the excess twine. And they fit really well. The wood beads are not too large, and so they didn't really get in the way here. I can put them pretty tightly with the wood beads. And so I strung 5 more of the natural beads, 1 of the orange, another 5 of the natural, and then we can do another 1 of the ornaments. Again, I always like to use odd numbers like 3 or 5 or something like that when I'm making like a pennant banner or something like that. I think it just looks better. And that is about halfway, so I think this is going to work out perfectly. I do want to use those mushrooms you'll see here at the end. And I'm just going to keep repeating that pattern, 5, 1, 5, and then the other ornament, tying this on. And this was such an easy way to make the little wood bead garland with the woodland fall animals without having to use a printer or anything like that. Window clings from the Dollar Tree can be really fun to craft with. So I have these all strung on here. I went ahead and tied it off, and then I realized, oh, I haven't added my mushrooms yet. So I'm going to go ahead and untie that because I did want to use the mushrooms, but instead of sideways like they came, I want them to hang upright. I think that will look way better, and you can really do that with just twine. So I'm going to go in here with a piece of twine, string that in from the top, and then I'm just going to knot that here on the bottom so it will hang down, and I can use that 1 piece of twine to tie that off. So here, instead of 1 of the wood slices, I'm going to tie on the cute little mushroom. And I just double knot that and cut off the excess here. I have a room for maybe just a few wood beads on the side of it. I do want it to be as full as possible. I think 2 will work. That looks cute, so I'm going to do the same thing here with the other side. I thought about alternating like wood slice, mushroom, but the sides, I don't have a lot of room. And so I think the tiny mushrooms will fit better on the sides and kind of be like little caps here on the side. So I tied that one on to the other side and added 2 beads to this one as well. I didn't really like the fact that the orange was a lot darker color than the wood beads. And so I'm going to go over mine here with a little orange paint. This is pumpkin. And I just went over it with a thin coat. And that way my polka dots are like a lighter color of orange, which I'm fine with. But it toned down the orange and made it match the wood beads way better. So I went ahead and attached it here to my bottom shelf, a little bit of hot glue on each side. And this is how my little wood slice wood bead garland turned out. I think it's really cute. What do you guys think? I like the redesign that I made with it. And I put this here on the bottom shelf that we decorated. And I think it looks really cute together. What do you guys think about this? The next item, check out the coffee mugs from the Dollar Tree. So cute. The raccoon, the squirrel, the hedgehog. I think that's all the animals. That's all I could find. These are going to be great for fall. I can hang them on my coffee cup bar, which is underneath that bottom shelf. So I can use these for fall. So seasonal and fun. I also have a lot of coffee cups in my kitchen too. I have a whole wall of them because I have quite the redone collection of mugs, but I think these will be fun for some pumpkin spice lattes this fall. Aren't they cute? I love them. I have 3 hooks there on my little bar, and they hang really nicely here underneath the wood bead garland and more fun fall critters. Now, I really hope they bring the little fall woodland critters back this year at Dollar Tree. Only one of my stores had these last year, the plates and the cups. And I think it's usually a test store. So maybe since it did so well, they flew off the shelves. They will have them in all of the stores this year. Sometimes that works with the test products like that. The next item is a thrifted sign I got from Salvation Army for half off. And so I got this for like $2.50. Really nice big board sign. And I'm going to try to create a custom coffee bar sign with this. I love the fact that it's slatted wood. It did cause me a little bit more work for this project than I initially thought, but we're going to make it work. The first thing I need to do is paint over all the writing. Anytime you have a dark sign like this and it has white writing on it, you really have to mask that, because if you're going to decoupage over this, you're going to be able to read that through. So I just went over first with a very thin coat of white paint on all of the boards, trying to make sure that I didn't get any in the cracks between the boards. Then I went over it with a heavier coat here to start to mask this. My plan for this sign is to display it on my top shelf of my coffee bar. My coffee bar in my house, if you don't know, I just took 2 floating shelves from Target and I put it on a wall near my kitchen over an armoire that I DIY that I got at Goodwill. And I love it. It's my favorite place in the kitchen. And so I love to decorate it, but you could always use a lot of these ideas in your kitchen or wherever you want to decorate. Now I got that all painted, so this is what I'm going to decoupage it with. Fall napkins from Dollar General. They were $2. They have a very similar print one at Dollar Tree with just fall leaves. This one also had like acorns on it. I think it's really pretty. And then I designed this printable. How cute is this? A bear drinking a cup of coffee. And I also did it in a fall theme. I just printed mine out on cardstock, and I will share the free printable with you in the description of today's video. Now for the napkin, I need it to be 1 layer. I thought I was going to need 2 since it's such a big sign, but the napkins were actually really big once you unfolded them. And so I just have 1 layer. There is a little bit of writing on the napkin, so I made sure to put that at the bottom where it won't be on the sign. And I'm going to cover the entire board sign with a very thin coat of Mod Podge. You definitely don't want to do thick coats, especially when you're decoupaging something as delicate as a napkin. And so I just went over it just very thin, but I wanted it even all over the sign. And then I'm going to lay this on, overlapping the sides with my napkin and making sure my hands were really dry. I'm just kind of smoothing that out. You can also use like a dry paper towel or like plastic wrap to kind of spread that out. You want to make sure that you get all of it glued down without any bubbles, but you also want to try to do it without tearing it if possible. It is very delicate. Then once I got that dry, I just went around all of the edges of my sign with a sanding sponge, and that gives you the perfect cut. You have to be pretty careful on this step too. Just take it easy, be very gentle with it. You don't want to rip any edges that you won't be able to repair. If you do rip it a little bit, you can always just Mod Podge it back down and it will be fine. And so I have it all on here. I'm going to go over the top of it with another very thin coat of Mod Podge. I often don't do the top part with Mod Podge, but I did do it on this sign just because I really wanted to be able to cut between all the board signs, and I wanted to make sure everything was good and attached and kind of dried on there. So I went over it with a very thin coat again. Some of it wanted to bubble up, but when I dried it, it did lay back down. And then this was kind of the tricky part of my DIY, was using my razor blade to cut between the board signs, because it's really hard to get the paper out in between. As you can see, the slatted board sign, the boards are really close together. So I think it was very important, especially on the decoupage step, to do that with this board sign. But if you had just a square sign that isn't a board sign like this, you wouldn't have to do this step, and that would be a lot easier. I found that if I cut it with my razor blade and then tried to glue it down into the crack with just my fingernail, like sliding that across, it did help. And also I use like that Cricut little weeder too, helped a little bit, but you have to be careful with that because again, that thin napkin can definitely tear. So I cut between all the board signs, and then I'm going to attach my bear. I printed this out. I think I printed it out at 97%. I will share the link to this. I had to print it out 97% because my printer doesn't do like edge to edge. But again, I just printed it out on cardstock, which is going to make it so much easier to decoupage on here, and it's going to not be see-through, so you won't be able to see the leaf pattern through it. And so I just cut it out with a pair of scissors. And I love him. He's so cute. He's looking straight at you, drinking a cup of coffee with some fall leaves. So I think he's going to be really fun on the top of my coffee bar for the fall. I found the cutest things at Dollar Tree that inspired me to do a woodland fall theme for my coffee bar, and I can't wait to show you all of those. Now, I decided to do the bear on different boards, cutting each piece. So I glued it on my first board, and then I cut it out with my razor blade. Now, I did this because I had cut all of the napkins, for the individual boards before. I thought it would look really cool to do that with the bear too. Kind of regret doing it because it was harder than I thought. Maybe if I would have cut the slices of the bear with my paper cutter, maybe I could have got some straighter lines. It might have been easier to cut. But I had a little tough time like getting the cuts perfect on this and making sure that I don't have like any paper trapped in between the boards. But I had already started it, so I'm going to continue that way. I just added Mod Podge, laid on my bear, and then cut here in between the boards with my razor blade, making sure everything was glued down. And I think he's so cute. He would look really cute on any kind of background if you wanted to DIY with him for your kitchen for fall. I wanted to do lots of different animals like bears, foxes, squirrels, that kind of thing for my coffee bar. And I also have a fall tier tray today. Haven't done a tier tray in a while. And so I definitely wanted to bring you a new fall tier tray as well. And we're going to do the same thing for it too, the same theme, because I'm going to display it in my kitchen. So I went all the way up. Every single board has a piece of the bear now. But again, I did have to kind of clean up some of the paper. Some of it didn't cut perfectly, like the area like right here underneath the bear's head. And so I do end up with like a little bit of area there that doesn't have any of the bear. So I'm going to have to touch that up a little bit because it was a little bit more distressed than I wanted. But I tried to trim the paper up the best that I could and make sure everything was glued down. So since it was brown, I just went in there with a little brown paint and tried to disguise this the best that I can right here on the different boards. So that's one reason why I regretted doing it. I could have just left it all one piece. It would have been easier, but it didn't turn out pretty cute in the end. Now that I have it all cut and repaired, I'm going to seal the bear with some more Mod Podge here on top, trying to dry that. Once it dries, I was able to get rid of any of the bubbling in there and make sure that it lays flat. This is how it turned out, and this is how it looks on the top shelf of my coffee bar. I think he's so precious. What do you guys think about my little bear drinking coffee? Very fun. And I decided at first to lean it against the wall like that. I do end up hanging it, you will see here in a minute. But for right now, I started out with just a leaner sign. Okay, the next item for the coffee bar is just this little pumpkin in green that I got at Target Dollar Spot. It's nice and small, so I think it's going to work well in front of that sign. It's not going to block it, and it's going to go with my like green and orange color scheme that I'm doing on this coffee bar. So I just put it in front of my little bear sign. I also wanted something else small, and so I picked up one of these little fox ceramic figurines from the Dollar Tree. Isn't he so cute? He has a little mushroom. And so I displayed him with the bear sign as well. He's perfect. He doesn't need anything. All I have to do is display it here on my coffee bar shelf. And this is how it looks so far. About half of it filled up so far. And then I wanted to do a sign for at the other side. I picked up an 8x10 wood frame from the Dollar Tree and I designed another printable. This one says nuts about coffee and it has squirrels drinking coffee and gathering some acorns. I thought it was really fun, and I will share a link to that free printable as well down in the description of today's video. Now this sign is going to be so much easier because I'm using a Dollar Tree sign. I printed the image out on cardstock on 8x10 size, and that's what size you'll be able to download. And I picked up an 8x10 frame, so standard size. I don't have to do anything crazy. I really like to DIY my canvases by actually putting the artwork on top of the glass. It's a perfect smooth surface, and it cuts down the extra step that I would need to do to make a background for this sign. I want it to look like a piece of art, and the size was perfect. The 8x10 cut out perfect, and so I just cut that down, and now I can attach that to the glass. Then I can put the glass back in the frame. It's such an easy way to do a seasonal sign. I'm just going to take some Mod Podge here on the glass, and I am just going to spread that out evenly on the whole thing. Definitely the easiest way that I make a sign on my channel for sure. I've made so many signs like this, and the artwork that you get a canvas look looks so much better than the glass on top of the image. That's why I do it this way. So I just laid my cardstock piece on there, and that's about coffee. I love this image, so fun. And then I'm going to seal it on the top. You don't really have to wait for it to dry when you use cardstock, which is one reason why I use that. And I just went over it with a couple of coats, and I'm just going side to side so I still get the brush strokes in there. And that's what gives you that canvas art look when you go to frame it. So let's go ahead and put this all back together. I thought about staining this wood frame, but I realized it's really sealed, so I think I'll just leave it the natural wood it is. I'm just going to go ahead and pop the glass back in there like that, and then add the back. It does have a hanger on it, and I do need that to hang it on my wall, so I just put this back together, and I told you this one was going to be easy. Our little nuts about coffee artwork. I love those little squirrels. We have the tamest squirrels on Memorial Island near me, where they will come up on your shoe and beg you for some peanuts. And they are not scared of people at all. I think they're so adorable. And holding a cup of coffee is perfect for my coffee bar. I hung it on the wall, which is kind of high compared to the bear. So that's one reason why I'm going to move the bear here in a minute. Now, this is one of the finds that I found at Dollar Tree that I was so excited about. Near the kitchen aisle of my largest Dollar Tree, they had this Woodland fall animal section. Coffee cups, plates, all kinds of fun things. And so I picked up 3 of the plates with 3 different animals. We're going to use 2 of them on the coffee bar because I didn't want the whole thing just to be plates. And then I got these great little plate holders on Amazon. I did add these to my Amazon shopping list, linked in the description of the video if you need some of these. I thought they were perfect for these. And this is what it looks like. Next to the little squirrel sign, we have a little hedgehog plate display, and I love the green on it. I think it's really pretty and goes really great with the DIYs we've made so far. The next item I found at Dollar General. It's a large size pumpkin. Looks like wood. It was $3 at Dollar General. I think it was supposed to be on sale, but their sales confuse me there. But it looks like it's wood, and it has felt on the top of it and orange. I think the colors are perfect. It doesn't need anything. It's ready to go. And I love the larger size of this, so I'm going to put this on the top shelf there. next to our little hedgehog plate to finish off that shelf. So this is what it looks like so far. I think it's looking really cute. For the next DIY, this is also from the Dollar Tree. These are the placemats. I'm going to make a little pennant banner with this. I thought that'd be really cute. They have 2 different kinds of placemats in this line. I was so excited to find this at my Dollar Tree the other day. I was kind of surprised they got it in kind of late, a lot later than the other fall thing. So if your store doesn't have it yet, you might keep checking because, again, first time I've seen this stuff. I'm just going to cut the front off of the placemat so I'll have this great fabric with different fall animals on here that I can use to make a little pennant banner. I'm just going to do like little triangles. And so I'm going to cut down like a stencil just with some cardboard that I had in my recycling here. I just use a straight edge to, trace this out. And then I can cut that down to size and make a stencil so I can cut down some perfect triangles here for the pennant banner. I want to try to make sure that I include like a different animal in each one. Since the print is kind of all scattered out, I definitely wanted the animals to be the star of the show. So I'm going to lay it on top of the fox and just use a pencil to sketch this out. Something really easy, and I won't have to worry about cutting marker off or anything like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with a little hedgehog. Over here we have a raccoon. I like to work odd numbers with my pennant banner, and so I want to do a total of 5 of them. There was only 4 animals though, so I'm going to have to do one animal twice. I will just do the hedgehogs twice. So I drew those all on there, and now I can cut these out. What I did was I cut out the triangle, but I'm also going to leave a little flap on here. So I'm going to cut it the opposite way like this, so I can hide it behind that when I fold that over my twine to make a really easy no-sew banner. And so I just went ahead and cut all of my pieces out this way. It was really easy. I love this fabric. I picked up a bunch of these placemats. I didn't have enough for a full set for my table, so hopefully I need to go back to another Dollar Tree. I might go to the next town over. They have a large Dollar Tree there too, and see if they have more, because I would really like these to, I would like 2 more so I can have a set of 4 for my kitchen table. But they work great for other projects like this. And so I am just cutting these all out. I'm gonna have to do like the hedgehogs like on different sides since I am repeating that animal. But I'm glad that I kind of targeted the animals like this because I think it made the pennant banner so much cuter. And even though I didn't draw that little flap, I remembered to cut it on all of mine so that I can attach that really easily to my twine. So I just flipped them over in the layout that I want. I found the center of my twine. I had measured that. That's how big one of my shelves are. And I'm going to put this on that top shelf that we just decorated. I just used a bead of hot glue to glue the twine on, and then another bead of hot glue, and I can like layer this little flap over the top of it. It's going to give me a nice clean edge and no sewing involved. So I love that. My mother was a seamstress, which is a funny story because I cannot stand to sew. I do have a sewing machine, but I only use it when I absolutely have to, which I do. My son is in college. He's still having his mom make his Halloween costumes. So I'm going to have to break that out soon. He's got some crazy ideas for a costume. So I am going to hot glue these out. I'm not really measuring them because I'm doing them so close together. And I just skip a little area of the twine, add the next pennant banner, and I tried to keep everything centered, by starting in the middle. And I have 2 more to attach here. I usually just attach my pennant banner to my coffee bar shelf by hot gluing each one of the twine pieces on each side of the shelf. Just the easiest way without having to put nails or screws into my wooden shelves. I want to keep them as nice as possible. So here it is, our little pennant banner. So fun. You could also do this on a tier tray as well. But this is how it turned out. I have it hanging on my shelf with all of these cute little woodland fall animals. And I love like the neutral colors. I think it goes really well. I tried to do a lot of green and orange on this coffee bar today. And I think it looks really good finishing off this shelf. But then I thought that my bear sign was a little bit too low, so I did move it up to the wall, as you can see there, and hung it on the wall so it's a little bit more balanced with the squirrel sign. But that opened up a little bit of room. So I picked up one of the fall fairy garden pumpkins with a little raccoon on the front, and it's orange, and I thought that would look really cute up on the top shelf as well. So I added that. Look how cute he is. He's holding a pumpkin. My stores just got these in as well. I hadn't seen the fall fairy garden stuff at all, but I love it. So that is the top shelf of the coffee bar. And that completes the entire fall theme. I love how I was able to incorporate like the little woodland critters together with coffee for the coffee bar to make it very specific. I loved those finds from the Dollar Tree. Again, I really hope that Dollar Tree brings this line back again this year. I know it was a little hard to find last year. I definitely grabbed every piece of it that I could find at my store that carried it. But I think it's a really fun theme for a fall themed coffee bar, and I hope it inspired you to decorate your own. Now it's time for the final reveal. I really hope you enjoyed these 25 fall Dollar Tree DIYs. Let me know your favorites down in the comments below, or just come say hello. I love reading your comments. And this is my QR code that you can scan with your phone if you would like to buy me a coffee. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the final reveal.
One way to see, one way to know, is never look back and just letting it go. Your heart is a drum, you're biting your tongue, hoping to reach out and touch the soul who is lost in winter and frost, enthusiastic. Summer's gone, it's moved on, in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. Hopelessly there, when you're not here, it doesn't matter as long as you're true. True to your heart, true to the art of holding the hands of a lonely soul who is lost in winter and frost, enthusiastic. Summer's gone, it's moved on, in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. They don't know why they're falling down. They don't know when they'll hit the ground. As far as my eyes can see, you'll always care so tenderly for souls who are lost in winter and frost, enthusiastic. Summer's gone, it's moved on, in rolls the dawn, hoping to lift you off the ground, but you won't let go, not this time around. They don't know why they're falling down. They don't know when they'll hit the ground. As far as my eyes can see,
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's fall crafting marathon with me. And I'd also like to thank my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you so much to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Amelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Renee Albanese, Ginny, Debbie Austin, Lizette Thomas, Amy Branham, Mary Renzel Park, Jennifer Diddy, and Karen Stanton. I really appreciate each and every one of you. My son is graduating from college in a few days, and I am expecting a house full of company. But I will be back soon with brand new fall DIYs for you. And until then, you can also check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting for fall.